Good morning. I'm Frank Messina, and this is the June 1st, 2021 meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission. I have a few announcements before we officially begin. The meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly thereafter for scheduled on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman at this time. Hearing none, thank you very much. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately address the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. The conference ID 290-499-487 #. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. The meeting is conducted basically via roll call and on all matters of voting and all matters for discussion. So let's try to remember that process and raise your hand when something is really urgent and that you need to speak out of order. Members of the public and non-citizens who call in via the last digits of their phone number are needed for identification purpose. Any member of the public can speak to any item on the agenda when recognized by the chair. Okay, let's do a roll call. Vice Chair Bob Lear.
Here.
Clerk Sandy Porter.
Here.
Ben Solomzinski, absent. Stephanie Hamilton.
Here.
Jane Mott.
Here.
Don Aikman.
Here.
Alternate Steve Burlingame. Not here as yet. Erica, not here. If Steve does join us, he would move from an alternate to a voting member replacing Ben, if Steve in fact joins us, which he may. Okay, we have a pretty straightforward agenda, a couple of applications and one continued application. And first, our next order of business would be the minutes. We have roll call, so we can proceed. We have the minutes of May 18, 2021 in your packet. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at them. They're short and sweet. Any comments, corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none, a motion to accept the minutes order.
I move that we accept the minutes in order. This is Hamilton.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second, Jane.
Second by Jane. Thank you very much. Roll call. Bob,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Minutes accepted. All right. Into public hearings. Fortunately or unfortunately, application 21006, 305 Main Street, which we heard under Chapter 158 and also in accordance with Section 12E of the Cape Cod Commission Regional Policy Plan, has once again requested a continuance. Unfortunately, his revised application, which we now have and are reviewing, he's asked for continuance to June 15th, which is our last meeting in June before we break for the summer. Having said that, Ron, can you take a look at that application, or does this present problems because of your wife on the Old Village?
Well, I think as Bob pointed out,
Yeah. Okay. Let's not pursue that. Sandy,
Yes,
could you please take a look at the application 305 Main Street? Michelle will send it to you.
okay,
Just want another set of eyes on it. You know, this thing has been dragging out, and Michelle does have a couple of concerns relative to the application's completeness and adequacy for us to make a final determination with this application. He has made
Okay.
significant changes, so but let's take a look at it. Uh,
Showbell,
thank you.
are
So
you?
I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm sorry,
She'll
Sandy.
send it, she'll be sending it to you with her concerns, a list of her concerns?
Well, she'll
Can
send you
I
the
keep-
applications, and then you can
Okay.
take a look at it. All
All
right.
right.
At this point, Bob, I'm looking for a motion to continue these 21006 615.
I'm abstaining to recuse from the whole thing, so somebody else
Okay.
might be better.
Steph, can I get that motion from you to continue the application 21006 as requested by the applicant to 615?
I so move.
I'll second.
Second by Andy. Okay. Any discussion? All right. Roll call. Mr. Lear,
Abstain,
Sandy,
Yes,
Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
yes,
Don,
yes.
and Ms. Vice Chair, the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. All right, Michelle, let the applicant know that you've allowed the continuance to
Yes,
615.
I
Okay,
will.
that,
Yep.
and you're going to forward the application to Sandy, and we'll take a look at it, get back any comments. And
Yeah.
Sandy said, if you have some concerns, let us know.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next application is a continued application, 21011, which we heard in, of course, with chapter 158, 395 Old Queen Anne Road. This is continued from 5/18/2021. You have that in your packet, and I gotta find it. And I have to say, looking over,
mm,
the applicant, I think, did a pretty good job in addressing our concerns. Who we have presenting?
Good morning, John Teriyaki, Teriyaki Architectural Design in Cohasset. I'm representing Mr. Thiel, the owner, who is also here.
Thank you very much. I guess I kind of indicated my comment. In my comment, I appreciate your revisions and appreciate your presentation. Trust me, I wish they were all this complete and neat to understand.
Thank you.
That is a problem for us, so we appreciate that. All right, so why don't you? I think you indicate in your summary letter, but let you go through it for the members of the public and also for the members of the commission of the changes made from the previous application. Thank.
Oh, sounds good. First correction we made was the demolition area calculations. As the board pointed out, we had not included opens required by new windows and doors. So we did overlay those and add those numbers. The total demolished area, it used to be 1,215 square feet, and with the additional elements, it is 1,367 square feet. So there was a 152 square foot increase in the total number. So we made that correction and noted those on the revised existing demolition drawings. So just want to put that out. Next are some design changes that we incorporated. If we move towards the proposed elevation drawings, you will see that we incorporated a faux chimney with a brick, most likely a brick veneer. And you will see that if you could scroll to the new elevations, we have some drawings of the new chimney. Oh, yeah, so the front elevation, you can see the chimney. We located it where the proposed middle roof transitions into the existing kitchen wing roof on the right side of that front elevation. We thought it was an appropriate location because it helps transition the two gables, helps conceal that transition a little bit, and visually it provides a counterpoint to the peak of the main gable on the opposite side. We wanted to leave the main gable as undisturbed as possible. So that's where we located that element. The other design change you see here is an 8-inch drop of the addition ridge line from the existing ridge. And that also transitions to the ridge line of the rear addition. We can see in the top drawing, you see the side profile of that rear addition extending toward the backyard. So both those ridge lines were dropped 8 inches from the existing high ridge line. The other design change was the slope of the shed dormer on the front. We reduced that slope so that where it transitions into the new gable roof, it's dropped at about 10 inches or so that it reads even more like a dormer, a secondary element on the facade, which was, I think, a comment that was suggested by the board. And then lastly, the two double windows in the gable, we did reduce those by 4 inches in height. So these are 4 inches shorter than the previous ones. And we looked at incorporating 3 windows, and we just couldn't fit them in a way that could work with the interior. They would almost be at the floor, like at the feet of someone standing inside that room. So, and we also felt that since the back of this gable already has 2 windows, we thought that was an acceptable precedent. And so we would like to stick the 2 windows, reduce size, as opposed to 3 windows. So
right.
that, I think, summarizes everything. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Again, I do appreciate the completeness of your revisions. Michelle, you should take this and make multiple copies. And when someone comes with an application and they want to know how we should present, give a something to follow. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Personally, I think you did well, but let's go around and listen to the members of the board to see how they feel relative to the change in which we had discussed. I think looking at my notes, which I'm scrambling to check out, looks like you did accommodate in every case, either specifically or very close to what we had asked for. Mr. Lear, any questions or comments?
Comment is I agree with you.
Very good. Sand?
My comment would be it's very nicely done. Thank you very much, Mr. Teriyaki.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stephanie?
I second everything that's been said. This was a very, very nice, fast change.
Thank Jane?
I agree with whatever anybody has said. 8
Good.
inches doesn't look like very much though from the here, but it's a step in the right direction. I like it.
Very good. Don?
Yeah, I just have one quick question, which is not related to the design, but how do you vent a gas fireplace without a chimney?
Out the side of the house.
Oh, yeah, that's one way. One way is a direct vent through the wall, or a galvanized pipe vertically. In this case, it will most likely be just a direct vent through the back wall. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't think the house is going to be recognizable as what it was, but it's we don't have design review, so I think it's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is interesting. Then I have a modern gas system, and it's just a little plastic pipe at the side of the house for a very large system. It's amazing. But I think that's why my chimney fixation, in 1800, there were chimneys. Chimney, it doesn't look like it's an old house. So that's where we have gotten in this making people realize that we're trying to maintain that street view and the streetscape, the chimney. So thank you very much. I really think the change of the slope of the door make a big difference. And I know it's only 10 inches, and of course the fact that the ridge heights step down. Although, as Don indicated, the house is going to look different. I think we maintain the historic character of the house. So I personally thank you and Mr. Thiel, I guess the owner, who's on also. Nice job. Okay, I think we've committed ourselves here. So we already indicated in the previous vote historical significance, if I'm correct, Michelle?
Yes, sorry, Frank. My
Okay, it's all right. So at this point, Bob, if we have a motion, I think there's a consensus to approve.
Okay, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission also finds proposed work to be done dated May 25th, 2021 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building structure. Therefore, the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Jane, second.
Thank you very much. Any comments or discussion? Any members of the public wish to speak for or against the application? Okay, we'll now take a roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Steph, Jane,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. One last thing, I would make a comment to Mr. Thiel and the architect. The Historical Commission has had a problem recently, and it's actually not recently, it's probably over the years, with when changes begin on historic homes or old homes in the town of Chatham, things happen. And I think in the determination which you're going to be receiving from Michelle, which I will sign off for commission members, it makes it very clear that this is what's being approved and this is what we expect to happen. If anything happens, and we understand the process. Once you open an old wall, you know what you're going to find. And our jurisdiction is with the exterior of the house, and we approve it. And the building commission will indicate on the building plans that it's been approved in accordance with the determination from the historical commission. If your builder, contractor, or anybody working on the house, uncle, suddenly decides to change something, just one quick phone call to the town of Chatham or to Michelle. And I guarantee you, we're going to be there very quickly to try and find out what needs to change and how we accommodate if you need to change the exterior. If you want to change the exterior design or streetscape, you need to let us know and come back to the commission. I think this commission has been very lenient in the past and in working with applicants to ensure that we can accommodate. And we'll be talking about later in our agenda is the commission in the past has not imposed necessary punitive action, but we will in the future. I'm sorry to give you this speech because you're a pretty good applicant, but we decided this is what we have to do to remind the applicant that there is an obligation, to maintain it. Having said that, sorry to be forceful about it. I want to thank you very much. And I think, again, thank you for a nice application.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we will do it the way it's supposed to be done.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. Nice
Okay.
working with you.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have one new application. A new application from an elderly gentleman. 1934 Main Street, application 21012, heard in accordance with chapter 158 of the demolition delay bylaw. Looks like Miss Phillips of Georgetown, Massachusetts, and I think I saw Mr. Riley.
The application is actually made by Robert Michael LLC. Ms. Phillips is the owner of the property. Robert Michael LLC is the agreed vendee, and they are now the owner of the property.
Okay, so the owner is in fact Michael, Robert Michael?
LLC.
Okay, so does that, oh, okay, I got, all right. So did we advertise that incorrectly, Michelle?
No, at time of application, the current owner was not the owner. He was the agreed vendee to purchase property.
Oh, I got it. Okay. So everything's legal the way it is, I guess,
Yes.
I assume.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bill.
You're welcome. A couple of old shacks that haven't been living for a number of years. And the age of one of them, set at 1900, I believe is just a default used by the assessor's office. And they really don't know the age of the structure. I think I'd be pretty confident that the structure is over 75 years old, but I think there's any historical significance. I'd like the commission to consider that question first.
Okay. There is no Form B. Michelle, was it listed as an address when we did the survey?
Yes, there should be in the application, there should be the list from Mr. Dre's survey. It was on the low priority list.
Okay, right. Okay, good. I got it. Thank you very much. Just
You're
too
welcome.
much paper in front of me.
I hear you.
Yeah, okay. Small building, former shop, low. Okay. No Form B, but it was listed as low priority from our preservation consultant. All right, let's see what the members have to say. I personally don't believe there's much to it, but okay, Mr. Lear.
I see no historical significance at all.
All right, very good. Sandy,
I agree with that. No historical significance.
Stephanie,
I agree with that, but I have one question.
surely.
Is this something that can be considered demolition by neglect?
Well, technically you're probably right, but it really was a small shack cottage. And even when it's, in my opinion, Stephanie, it could. The answer to the question is yes. I shouldn't equivocate. It certainly is a cottage. It was used, as Bill indicated, the age was questionable, but it's no question if it's not 75, it's pretty close. It's not. It certainly wasn't built in the 50s. So yeah, relative to your task and what you're doing, I would say yeah, that potentially is an example. But that's another thing that we're looking into. So
Right.
yeah.
I will say it has no historical significance.
All right. Thank you very much, Steph. I appreciate your staying on top of that. Jane?
I agree. I don't think it has any historical significance, but I have a hard time visualizing what it used to look like.
Yeah. And Don?
No historical significance.
Okay. I guess the chair also concurs. Although we don't have a authority as what you're planning to do, Bill, it is a relatively attractive home and, consistent with the Cape Cod style in my opinion. So I wish the owners good luck. It's interesting. What do you call those lots? Flag lots or what? Does that have the name of it?
No, it's a panhandle.
Panhandle. Oh, back in New Jersey, it was called a flag lot, but now it's a panhandle. Well, it is what it is, as somebody said.
It's always been a panhandle in Chatham.
In Chatham. Okay.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Jane, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
On this big plat we got, is he intending to build another house?
Yeah.
Yes.
I see there's a 1 and a 2.
There's two houses going up there.
Okay, and Bill, the one that we're looking at is house 1, I take it.
Sorry, what? Oh, house one, yes, that's correct.
The plans that you gave us are house 1.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So in the future, he's planning to build the second house.
That's correct.
Okay, just wondered because I only saw one diagram.
Well, and we do appreciate that submission. Okay, I think we have consensus, Mr. Lear. I think the motion would be relative to its historical significance, and there seems to be consensus that it's not.
I move the Chatham Historical Commission find that the buildings located at 1934 Main Street are not historically significant because they do not meet any definitional criteria in section 158-2 A, B, or C of the bylaw. Therefore, the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Jane, second.
Jane, thank you very much for that quick second. Okay, you beat Steph out. All right, here we go. Any member of the public wish to speak for or against the application? Hearing none. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Don, yes, and the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you very much. Hope you guys have a great day today.
Yeah, and I hope this early time for our meetings doesn't conflict too much. We tried the later 2:30, but it just didn't work. We ran into too many problems. So
It's fine for me. Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, thank you. All right, back to our agenda. New business. We don't have any new business on our agenda, and I want to talk about History Weekend, but I'll do later on in the chairman's report. Okay, under new business, the first item is the status of the stop work order on 21620 Main Street. In accordance with our motion at our last meeting, approving the changes, the building commissioner, Mr. Briggs, lifted the stop work order, and work would proceed at some time in the future, depending the submission of the proper work and building permit, or if that it may have already happened. I'm not sure, outside of my jurisdiction. I did have a discussion relative to our second motion at that time, relative to the consideration of fines. And I made that little speech at the beginning about fines where there is an infraction. What we need to do, and what Mr. Briggs needs to do, is have a consultation with the town council. We've got a new administration here, and Katie Donovan is new director, and things have changed. And Mr. Briggs also is, and he will be having a consultation with the town council relative to the process. It's not an issue, Don and Bob, relative to can we or should we. The question is, how do we do it and do it properly? In this case, he felt we need to proceed, and at this particular time, although if we had proper procedure and understood, it probably would have been a candidate for fining. The key question here is, when do you do it? And what Jay is going to recommend to town council relative to, by the way, when you put a fine in, you got to go to court. You got to get, it's not just writing a letter, sending an email. There's a legal process, and there's administrative and court involved. And then the town will do that. But what Jay is thinking at is that, the fine is daily. So the fine should be imposed at the time of the infraction. In other words, when we know something is wrong, Don, for instance, you saw this particular one, the day it happened, and the building inspector would go down and say, yep, this is an infraction, didn't follow the determination, and he had no approval to do it. And he would institute the fining process immediately. Okay. And that would be a daily fine. And the fine would continue until either the infraction is removed or there's an approval for a revision to the infraction. Making myself clear on that? Okay. So anyway, this is just me trying to convey back. There's nothing in writing yet. I figured because this was so current to us, we deserve some kind of at least an understanding. And I've asked Jay, and I will, it's verbal, but I will formally ask him for the commission that once the process is understood on his part within community development, that they come before us and, just explain to us. So we have a process. And I think the little speech I gave relative to reminding the applicant of the infraction of the determination is not going to be tolerated, and there would be potentially a fine, blah, blah, blah. I hate to use the hammer, but I guess that's what we have to do. And, the vote was 5-2, but I think it's unanimous that we feel there needs to be something to make the owner, the architect, and the builder, who we never see the build. It's very rarely, most of the time we see Mr. Riley, or an architect, that's it, and that transition. All right, long speech, but is everybody comfortable with that explanation?
I am.
Good. Don, Bob?
Yes, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or concerns? All right, Michelle?
Yes, Frank.
All right. When our next meeting is June 15th, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know whether Jay will be ready by then. It takes time. The town works. You can't just pick up the phone and call town council. You got to get permission through because every time you pick up the phone and call these guys, ching, ka-ching, ka-ching, and it's usually about $500 an hour or something. So, so that process. So, Michelle, I guess the question or the comment is, if Jay is available, we'd love him to give us a brief explanation. And as soon as there's something in writing, that we would then amend our rules and regulation, so it's very explicit. Okay.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on, the second item on there is the approval of the revised application. And so we need to take a vote, guys. We've had this for like 2 months, and I think we've milked it, killed it. So we will need to formalize it. And unless there's any comments, I'd like a motion to approve the revised application. And I think it's revision 5-6, Michelle. That's my note on the bottom.
Yes. Yep.
Oh.
Sorry, I had to dig mine out of the file. Yes, 5-6.
Okay. Mr. Lear, could you accommodate that?
Sure. I move that the commission approve the new application instructions dated May 6th, 2021.
I'll second Steph.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Any comments or questions? Okay, let's roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Don.
Yes, and I thank Michelle for doing such a great job.
Thank you very much. And the chair votes yes. Okay, we kill that one. All right, next item on the agenda is the, well, I think we spoke to this, adherence and the process for fines. So unless there's nobody else to add to that, I think we've kind of killed that. What we do need to do is, please remind me, Michelle, or any member of the commission, when we have an application that's significant, that we need to make that speech, it's in the record. And trust me, if you look at Jay's approved building plan, got a big red stamp on it about, changes, and can't make it any clearer, but that's not to stop things from happening. Okay. Steny, do you want to add anything on the issue of a demolition at this point? Steph?
Katie Donovan and I have been talking. We have found that most of the towns are just where we are now too, saying, what should we do? The only town that has something is Orleans, and that's sort of wordy and doesn't have enough hammer to it. If you want us to check off Cape, we can do that too.
Can I make a suggestion, Steph?
Yes.
And my suggestion was came forth in watching the I think it was the zone meeting, the ZBA meeting on the brick block. Don is very familiar with. Is that in the old village, Don? The brick block?
No,
No.
it's in HPDC jurisdiction.
All right, it's in HBDC. It's in an historic district, and guess what? It's listed on the National Register. And that property is in terrible condition. And we don't really have anything. In fact, there was a discussion, just for information, at the zoning board meeting. The applicant was applying for a change. They're gonna right now the restaurant in there, or an ice cream shop, and he wants to eliminate the ice cream shop and restaurant. He wants to put businesses in, like clothing shops, which seems to be big in Chatham. Okay, and there was this discussion to the applicant about how in the past he had committed to make repairs and he hadn't done it, and the zoning board, which has authority, was holding back the authorization to change in use relative to making repairs. Now, if we had a property maintenance demolition delay bylaw, some could do something here. Now, what I'm suggesting, Stephanie, if you could take the task on, because you are proceeding it, is take a real hard look, and I'll work with you on it, at the Orleans demolition delay bylaw, because the Orleans bylaw is not generic to the whole town. It's specific to historic properties. In other words, so what we could do as a commission in creating a bylaw, and I don't know, Ally is with. Ally, are you here?
I am, Frank.
Okay, I'm gonna be sorry that you're here. Okay, I think if Ally could put it on her list of things to do next year, okay, to look into the Orleans bylaw, which already exists, so we have a template, but we could put some meat on it, Steph. All right, but if we at least bring the process, and the process in which the town of Chatham has been using is Ally, that she would begin the process of taking a look at it from an ordinance point of view, because it would have to be either a zoning ordinance or a general bylaw. So we need a little work on that, Steph. And
Yeah.
that's the first question. Is it a zoning bylaw or is it a just general bylaw? And the next question is, okay, how do we work it? But I think the Orleans, talking to Peterson, who's I think he's current chair of the Orleans Historical Commission, that's their intention. They wanted to protect historical properties, okay? So we could start by saying historical property is any property that's listed on the National Register. Well, that's a no-brainer. Any property that's in a National Register district, any property that's a historic district. Guess what? That's probably 20 or 30% of the town of Chatham, and it's probably the most significant properties. Don, you with me on that?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's take a look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to get through our current bylaw,
Mhm.
but we could still start this for the future.
One
Yes,
of
I'm
the
sorry,
things
Steph.
One of the things that Ron Peterson had said is in his 7 years on the board, this has never been used.
Well,
And I know it's vague.
yeah, sometimes, at least it's there. Like, for instance, the situation we were in with that Main Street property, when we realized, we didn't have a process and people were saying, well, we should find this guy. Well, the question is, well, how do we find him? So we need to put the process and we need to provide some meat because it is a concern. All right. So let's tick that off. All right. Next, number 5 is Ally. I guess we had our planning board meeting, and Ally, you want to just give me 3 minutes of where do you think go from here?
Sure. Yeah, so Frank and I went to the planning board meeting on May 24th to just give the same presentation that we gave to the zoning board of appeals. And the planning board had a lot of comments. They were good comments and they were overall very supportive of the bylaw. So that was good. But I think kind of how next steps of how we go, I think we should really get in front of the select board and give a presentation as well. And then once we get those comments, we can combine all the comments that were received from the zoning board, the planning board, the select board, and the historical commission can review them, make changes as the commission sees fit. That's kind of how I see it going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I would just comment that, I made notes during the planning board comment. I had a page and a half of notes from the zoning board, and I have 3 pages of notes from the planning board, and some of them were very insightful. And I have to, give credit. They actually read it, and they looked. No, they did. They actually looked at the language, the detail, and I think Ally would agree. It wasn't everything we agreed with, in terms of our approach, but I think they gave us a lot of food for thought relative to sit back and stuff like that. So I think Ally needs to digest it, and I get Ally at some time at your convenience, if you like to sit down and I hope we could sit down in person. I have any idea when the town is going to lift this coming together, Michelle or Ally?
I'm not 100% sure. I think the select board is going to talk about it tonight.
Oh, okay. So, we could sit down at least together, agree that, yeah, this is something that's worthwhile, or something we can't do that at all. So, all right, at your convenience, Ally.
Okay, and then I was thinking that we would try to get on the select board's agenda maybe right after town meeting, just because they're so busy at the moment. After town meeting, I think would be good.
I think that's a good idea. If you could, go ahead and try to schedule something. I'm around most of the time, but you're talking about sometime in July.
I think, maybe at the end of June, I guess, early July.
Okay.
It depends on their schedule. I'll have to talk to Sean about it.
All right, great. That would be good. So the next step for us, as a commission, is the select board, at least for another discussion. Any other comments from members of the commission? Again, thank you, Ally. I appreciate all your work. Let me tell you, I think this is about the 4th time Ally has made the same presentation, and she's getting really good at it.
Thanks, Frank.
I think, good, Ally. I mean, I'm half kidding, half serious. It's, and quite honestly, I have to say, I'm really understanding it. There's a lot of nuances in this thing. So, and I think that's what happened with the planning board. They understood the nuances, and so we don't want to create more problems that we're trying to prevent. Okay. Moving on, the boathouse I haven't heard anything. I haven't had a chance actually to check with Mr. Bob Duncan, Dr. Dunson, I believe, who's leading the effort to find out where they are. There was some engineering work to be done and then approve before this proceeds. Ally, do you know anything about it? Has it gotten to you yet?
No, Frank, I'm sorry, I don't know
No,
anything.
that's okay. No, this is something we'll make a quick check to find out where it is. And of course, I have a telephone call in to our consultant, Rick Dre, to see where he is on the comments relative to response to the South Chatham National Register District. I think I had reported in the previous one that it's a lot more work than had previously done in response to questions, because there are some new people at Mass Historic, and they've got a different angle on how things should be submitted to the federal government, to the National Park Service for submission. So we got to go through the process. Takes time. Okay. Seems everything is a chairman's report here. Stats on demolition delay. Michelle, is there anything significant I need to know about your list?
I don't think so. I took Cockle Cove off because we all know about that. Everything else is the other two, or the other two that are recently expired. I updated, whether or not it permitted the shoot. 68 Shell, Conscom continued their meeting to June 9th, I believe, and ZBA will discuss the subject on June 24th. That's about it.
Yeah, I think from what I was able to glean out of the June 9th, the previous Conscom meeting, is they seem to be leaning towards some level of approval for 68 Shell, which I think if that happens at the meeting on the 9th, it'll make things a lot easier for Mr. I forget his name, for the owner of 68 Shell Drive. So hopefully that'll move forward in a positive way. And Seaview Street, nothing has happened yet. So that's the next one where we'll see a significant change. Okay. Any other questions on that? Nope. Oh, 68 Shell, I just answered the question. I'm still waiting for the Nickerson Family Association to make a decision on whether or not they want that historic on. And if they do, the Nye Family Museum has agreed that they would allow it to stay in. Not that they would allow it, they would allow the barn to stay in Chatham and not, have moved to Sandwich. Originally, they had stepped up and said, "Yeah, we'll take it," and then Nickerson came and said, "No, I think we like it." So we have to thank the Nye Family Association for being so kind to allow this to happen. Be nice if we keep it in Chatham. Nothing has changed on Monomoy Theater. We're still waiting. Michelle, we received the correspondence, which I can't find it now. Oh, here it is. Did you send this to the members of the committee too?
I did not. It was addressed to you. I sent it to you first.
Yeah, do me a favor. When you get a chance, send it out to commission members. What this is, and you should be aware of it. I should be the only one aware of it. This is a letter from Mass Historic Commission to the developers. In this case, it's David Clark, engineer. And it's a development that wants to happen at 237 and 263 Woodland Avenue. Apparently, there's some kind of residential development. I haven't physically looked at the property, but what the town of Chatham has done as a result of the historical commission and our archaeological survey, raising people's attention to the archaeological sensitivities of areas of town, that there's something called a Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. I think Don will be familiar with that. It's similar to what we did with the bridge, the Mitchell River Bridge. What was that? Was that a 110, Don? Something like that?
I do not recall, Frank.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of thing. If you're disturbing something which is potentially historic, you've got to make sure. As a result of our archaeological survey being on file at Mass Historic Commission, when Mr. Clark filed his development plans for 236 and 263 Woodland area, the Mass Historic says we reviewed the inventory of the archaeological and history of assets, and guess what? There's potentially some sensitive uh, ancient Native American archaeological sites in this particular area. So as a result of that, and this section 109, the applicant is informed, and the town working with the applicant may have to bring in an archaeological preservationist to ensure that there are assets there properly protected. And this goes not only to me, but it also goes to the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead, and the other people in the Chatham Conservation Commission. In other words, there's at least an acknowledgement is, hey guys, before you start digging this place, you got to be careful, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want you to be aware of it. As far as an action personally or us as a commission, it's just a notification of that. And I think it's a very positive thing that we should be aware of. Sometimes we take actions. What was that? 10 years ago, we did that survey done.
Probably at least that.
Yeah. No, it is. It doesn't sit on the shelf. That it does allow things to be protected. Okay, I'm giving a speech about that. Okay. I think that's it. Oh, I know. One more, most important thing. Sorry about that. June 11 to 13 is History Weekend. There's a group called Historic Chatham, which I happen to be a member, and Don was a member at one point, but now
But I've reneged.
you reneged and you did D&D. You delegated and disappeared.
Absolutely.
And we have a new member who's very enthusiastic for the Railroad Museum. Thank you. So there is an event called History Weekend in which the Historic Chatham group is part of. And there's a lot of activities. I will email you something which has all of the historic activities which are going to occur that weekend at Marconi, at the Atwood, at the Kyle Nickerson House, the Railroad Museum, the Mayo House. But the one thing which is near and dear to our hearts, the Godfrey Windmill, on June 13th from noon to 1 o'clock, Rose Clancy and a guitarist, Matt Cohen. And Rose Clancy is, from the Clancy family, and we all know that. Good Irish folk. And she'll be having her fiddle, and she'll be giving a concert from noon to 1 o'clock at the Windmill. So if you're around, we originally had this scheduled for June 12th, but that's now town meeting, so we were usurped by the town meeting. And if the weather's correct and the wind's blowing, we're going to grind some corn on our historic Godfrey Windmill. Okay, guys, I've talked out, but guess what? It's less than an hour.
I think I'd like to ask Ally a question, if I may.
Go right ahead, please.
Ally, how do we prevent something similar to the changes to 1934 Main Street? This property would have been ideal for affordable and acquirable housing. The property was assessed by the town for almost nothing. How did we miss this? And how do we prevent missing these types of opportunities in the future?
So what really needs, because we're a town entity, a municipal entity, we technically don't have the ability to approach properties to say, hey, can you sell this to the town? We have to put out an RFP request for proposal to say, if there's any interested, buyers, please approach us, with your property and we will consider it. And we do that on a rolling basis, but legally, it's difficult. We're just legally not allowed to approach our own property owners. And so that could be one of the kind of hurdles going forward. That's why we always talk about, I know this is getting off track, but that's why we always talk about a public-private kind of group, because if it's a if it's a private entity, it's much more flexible to be able to approach properties and things like that to try to buy the property for housing. So because we're in a municipality, sometimes our hands are tied more than a private entity. I'm not sure if that helps or gives you a little
That
bit.
helps a lot. I just get frustrated when I see situations like this. There's going to be two 3,500 square foot houses on a piece of property that the town, or at least I never knew was even available or even existed. And it's frustrating.
I agree with you. It is very frustrating. It's frustrating to me too. That's why I think there's been and again, this is off topic for historical commission, but I think there's, some rumbling about trying to get a private group together to pick up these properties and then, hold them. So potentially town could then buy them. So I think they're trying to get that together, but.
That'd be great.
It's Don, it's really and then we have the president of the Conservation Foundation on our board. It's the same thing. A foundation needs to be established. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at followed what select board is doing, but we're going to be voting on a lot of things on the 12th, and I'm not sure if they are encouraging the creation of a foundation, but we got a lot of deep pocket in this town, and it would be very simple. It's a silly word to say simple because it's not simple. But if you establish a foundation, put a couple of $100,000 in it, to be able to approach people, in that situation. I mean, it is ridiculous when you think about it. Our good friend Bill Marsh, he finds property all over town to develop. And because he's an individual, private businessman, God bless him, he's doing very well, and they keep their nose to the ground. Real estate agents know what's going on, but I'm sure the Conservation Foundation does something like that. That
Frank,
there's a place to go.
Frank, you're correct in the sense that if a property comes up that the town might want to buy and eventually does through the land bank, has to wait until after town meeting or God knows what, but the foundation can say, here's your 200,000 or whatever, because we got it. I mean, we have a fund to do just that. So you're right. We just have to have a similar mechanism that would apply to affordable housing.
We just need someone with some stamina who wants to take the charge. But I have to be honest with you. Shireen Davis and Peter Kokolas and Dean, the current select board, they seem to be quite enthusiastic about supporting it, at least from a municipal level, and hopefully that have encouraged some, private person with some deep pockets. And you don't want deep pockets. I'm sure you get people to contribute, and you can find grants, community preservation, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway.
Right. This is Jane.
Yes, Jane.
I just wanted to add, and I'm sure Stephanie knows this, that the CPC, which you mentioned, has so many applications for affordable housing and a rather large amount of money in the Housing Trust Fund. And that will be voted on this June.
Absolutely.
But that's the situation, and as Don, there is money there, but you still need a private entity to, as Bob said, to make the offer, and because the town can't do it directly. Yeah.
It takes many months to get that done, as Jane knows.
It's not simple.
And somehow they need to be found, and that's the difficulty. How did someone find this?
Well, you get a good real estate agent. They know what's going on. Okay. I think we're a bit off topic, but thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, have we done it?
I move we adjourn.
I'll
Second by Stephanie.
yes.
No discussion. Roll call. Bob,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Don, the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, guys. We did that in just a little more than an hour. Very good.